Time now to call on someone who represents the state of New York in the Congress of the United States, my old colleague, Congressman Peter King, member of the House Committee on Homeland Security. Peter, as always, we appreciate your time. Welcome back to America's Forum.
JD, thank you very much.
Pete, what is your understanding of what is afoot in New York? Are the cops, everybody ready to handle this? And did they learn lessons from Ferguson?
Well, let me just say, I have a bit of a history in this. My father was in the NYPD for over 30 years. I have very close relations with the NYPD. I think they're the finest police department in the world. I also believe they operate under a handicap right now in that Bill de Blasio is extremely liberal left-wing mayor and tries to hold the police back. You have Al Sharpton, actually has direct access to the police department and to the mayor. Having said all of that, if any police department can handle disturbances, it is the NYPD. But again, talking to a lot of cops on the street, their concern is not with Commissioner Bratton or with the department itself, but they're afraid if there is an incident that occurs, which gets highlighted in the media, is the mayor going to stand with them? Is the mayor going to defend the cops? And so when that happens, if a cop is not going into something knowing that he's 100% support, human nature is they hold back a bit, and that holding back could create a problem. But having said that, if anyone can do it, it's the New York City cops. Let me just say, one comment on this. What really has disturbed me, certainly for the last 4 months, I said nothing on Ferguson until the grand jury report came down, because I didn't know what happened in Ferguson. The fact is, nobody knew what happened in Ferguson except the grand juries. But yet the national media and the Al Sharptons of the world were talking for 4 months about hands up, about I surrender, about being shot in the back, about being shot while he's lying on the ground. The fact is, none of that was true. And there's this false equivalency between Michael Brown, who was a thug on the one hand, and Officer Wilson, who had an unblemished record as a police officer, had never fired his weapon before, and yet we were supposed to accept the fact that a cop who never fired his gun before, suddenly in the middle of the day, in the middle of the town, is going to empty his revolver into a young man who meant no ill will toward anyone. It just never added up, but I said nothing until the grand jury come in. Now we have to support that decision. And also what bothers me is this false equivalency when the mayor says we have to improve relations with the community and the police. I would say, certainly in New York, no one has done more to protect the lives of African-American youth than the New York City Police Department. Literally, since Giuliani became the mayor back in 1993, 1994, if the murder rate had continued the way it was, you would have thousands and thousands of more African-American youths would be dead. But the murder rate, the total murders have gone up from 2,200 down to 300, and the overwhelming majority of murders have been carried out in the African-American community.
And
so
Peter,
mindful
of that, we only have about a minute left in this particular segment. That's okay. Appreciate your passion. And I want to talk about some of your colleagues, because yesterday on the House floor, a special order from the Congressional Black Caucus, and member after member was recognized, and they were doing the hands up, don't shoot. Your reaction to that?
Totally inexcusable. It's just wrong. We're leaders in the Congress, and whether people like us or not, the fact is we're elected to do a job. And we can have honest differences about policy. We can have honest differences about interpretations of what happened or didn't happen. But in this case, we know this is not true. The grand jury rejected it. There's absolutely no evidence to believe at all that his hands are up. And to say that as if that's a fact, to me that demeans the civil rights movement, and it takes away from honest, conscientious objection and honest protest. So no, it's totally wrong. And that is the type of action that encourages violence. You can almost see why people would be driven to violence. For 4 months, their leaders are telling them that African Americans are being shot dead in the streets for no reason. They get shot dead when they surrender. It's just not true, but it builds up an attitude that can lead to the type of situation we saw in Ferguson.
Peter King, we appreciate your time. Ask you to stay with us. There are some other important matters before the House right now that we need your input on. You stay with us too now on America's Forum.